Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Well, the Sixers won last night, but does anybody care? Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. And see how I start by asking that question for this specific reason, because the Sixers played last night, the Flyers played tonight, and then they both play on Thursday night. They both play on Saturday. The Eagles don't play till Monday. It's kind of like we're almost like in this strange, how do we transition from the Phillies losing the World Series back into the regular fall sports season? Well, we're going to try to do that today. We'll get you the latest on the Phillies and the Eagles. Plus, the Flyers are 6-3-2. Who would have thought? Kevin Durso will join us coming up in about 20 minutes from now. Our Flyers insider over at 97.3 ESPN.com. John Tortorella called out one of his players today. Who was it? Tune in less than 20 minutes. We'll get into that because, you know, it's not every day that a coach or a manager publicly calls out one of his players. So we'll get into that and more here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you can join the conversation. 609-403-0973 is the text form. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And yes, to Joey D. and Ventnor, you will have one more chance tonight on Game Night. So the way it works is for 99 bottles, if you want to qualify to go to 99 bottles, you will get a chance at the end of the hour 4 times on the Sports Bash, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And then at the end of the show tonight of Game Night, you'll have another chance for you to qualify. Callers 6 and 7 qualify to 99 bottles. So yes, Joey D. and Ventnor, you have more chances on Game Night. Stay tuned for the end of the hour when I tell you to call the phone number. But right now, let's get into the Philadelphia sports scene, because in the aftermath of the Phillies losing a World Series that, let's be realistic, we're fortunate to have seen them get there because, one, a few years ago, there was no wild card spot for them to qualify into, to run to the playoffs. 2, there was no opportunity for you to look at the Flyers and say they might be a good team. Everyone expected the Sixers to be this contender in the East, and they've looked like a bunch of mashed potatoes until last night. And then you get the Eagles, 8-0. And the news has been coming out. You can see the full list over at 97.3 ESPN.com. But, you know, with the Phillies, they're already making moves. They're moving on from Gene Segura. They're moving on from Syndergaard. Eflin opted out of his deal. So it's looking more and more like this team is going to probably make a run at somebody. And they're going to have to. Because in a year where you went to the World Series and during the baseball offseason, you know you're going to have a Sixers team that is going to get better as the season progresses. You have a Flyers team that is a competitive team right now, okay? You go through the Flyers schedule and you realize they're not just, beating a bunch of cupcakes. They're actually competitive with a lot of teams this year. Realistically, they only have one loss where you could argue they looked bad in. And that was the loss versus the Sharks when they lost 3-0. Aside from that game, this year, even in the losses, have been close games usually. And the Toronto game, it was 5-2 on the scoreboard, but it wasn't 5-2 like in the play of the game. Because if it wasn't for John Tavares being John Tavares against the Flyers' backup goaltender, do the Maple Leafs even win that game? Or do they win it 5-2? Do they maybe win it, 3-2 or 2-1 kind of situation. And again, it was against your backup goaltender. In that game, the Flyers scored the first goal of the game. So it's not like the Flyers are a bad team. And I think that if you're the Phillies, you're going to see the Flyers stay competitive this year. I think Tortorella's going to keep this team competitive. You're going to see the Sixers get better. You're going to see the Eagles make a playoff run. If you're Dave Dombrowski, you cannot get lost in the sauce. You got to maintain and carry the momentum and the energy and the fan interest of you going to the World Series and getting to Game 6 of the World Series through the offseason by getting some guys, because you don't want to turn around on January 30th and say, oh, wait, spring training reports in a couple weeks. No, you don't want that. You want the fans to be amped up all off season long. And we talked about it yesterday on GameNight of what they should do, who they should add. And I think that, to me, it's less about names, because we've heard a lot of names. A lot of people love the idea of Trey Turner. I know a lot of people are looking at Xander Bogaerts because of Dombrowski's connection to Boston when he was there. I heard Dave Gallagher about an hour ago on the Sports Bash mention Anthony Rizzo's name multiple times as a guy who can play first base and be a major upgrade defensively over at first. But guess what? It's something that you got to keep an eye on. That I don't think the Phillies are going to be quiet this offseason. I think it's going to be an exciting next few months. So I'm looking forward to it. You can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 on the text board. Also, you can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. One of the things that we need to talk about when it comes to the Eagles is there's a lot of trash in certain corners of the media and on the internet that are trying to paint this picture. And they go and find their favorite stat. They go and find their favorite point of view. They take things out of context. And what they do is you have a situation where people are trying to act like the Eagles' 8-0 record is fugazi. And the reality is that the Eagles' 8-0 record is fugazi, then everyone's record is fugazi. Okay? Look, whether you like it or not, the Vikings are 7-1. They are statistically and record-wise the second best team in the NFC. And by the eyeball test, they're a top 5 team in the NFC. If you break down the NFC, the top 5 teams in no explicit order are the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Vikings, the 49ers, the Giants. If you go by eyeball test, right? Those are the 5 best teams. And the Eagles beat 2 of them. And I know what people are trying to say, oh, well, you beat Cooper Rush. No. You didn't beat Cooper Rush. That's the other fraud in this conversation. And I hate the fact I have to sit here on November 8th and defend the Eagles' schedule, because it's the most stupid thing in the world, okay? The NFL is a week-to-week proposition. The NFL is the hardest thing in the world to go undefeated in. College football, if things play out the right way, you're in the right conference, you have the right recruiting class, you can go undefeated. It's not that crazy of an idea. The NFL is completely different. The Bills the last 2 years have lost to a now 6-3 Jets team and a horrible Jags team last year. The Buffalo Bills. The Chiefs lost to the Colts before the Colts fired their head coach. So this idea that, first of all, we have to defend and talk about the Eagles' strength of schedule and who they played and who they haven't played is a complete ridiculous thing to me in the first place. But secondly, let's get to Cooper Rush. You didn't beat Cooper Rush, okay? I don't care who you are. I don't care how big of a platform you have in the media. You got to stop being a guy who sells horse manure to people, okay? You don't beat quarterbacks. You beat teams. The Eagles didn't beat Cooper Rush. They beat the Cowboys defense. I believe the Dallas Cowboys have one of the best defenses in the NFL. That's what I see with my two eyes. Micah Parsons, Dexter Lawrence, DeMarcus Lawrence, and that whole defensive front, those linebackers, that team is a bunch of studs. And you know what the Eagles did? They scored points on them. You look at that Dallas defense in the weeks before they played the Eagles. That Dallas defense allowed the following: 10 points, 16, 17. That was the run. And in the loss they had to Tampa, they allowed 19. They allowed 26 points to Philadelphia on Sunday Night Football. So you didn't beat Cooper Rush. You beat the Cowboys defense. You didn't beat Kirk Cousins, even though Kirk Cousins is actually having a pretty darn good year, right? Now, you beat the Minnesota Vikings. We got to stop picking and choosing when a stat or a factoid or a player we don't like fits our narrative. We got to take things at face value. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Eagles are all of a sudden better than the Bills because the Jets beat them, just like I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Eagles are going to go undefeated this year. I've told you guys multiple times, I see multiple opportunities on the schedule for the Eagles to lose. And if they take their eye off the prize, if they have a bad day at the office, if somebody important gets injured, if you have a bad weather day and things go sideways, if Jack Stoll again decides not to block a guy off the edge and let his quarterback get blasted on a corner blitz, then yeah, you can lose any day of the week. And no, I will not let go of Jack Stoll missing on that block. I don't understand why people are okay with a number 2 tight end who half the reason why he's on this team is because he can block. Just completely looking like he's a matador with a bull and waving the big red flag, letting the bull run by, and that I'm supposed to be okay with that. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I think that some of these people who have these opinions, whether it's social media or national shows, they need to be called out on the carpet more often. And I know Mike Gill attempted to on social media today with the Bart and Hahn show on ESPN radio. And, you know, the problem is that you have people like that who are sensationalists, okay? They say and do things not because it's facts, not because it's reality, but because they like attention and they like giving hot takes, and they're sensationalists. Because if they weren't that, they wouldn't have replied to Mike Gill the way they did on social media. The Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFL. Doesn't matter what you think of their schedule. Doesn't matter who you think of their opposition. Doesn't matter what you think of their quarterback. Doesn't matter what you think of their head coach. Doesn't matter what you think of the city of Philadelphia. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. And if you don't like it, as my grandmother would say, take a long walk on a short pier. Let's talk about another team coming up next on 97.3 ESPN. The Philadelphia Flyers. I still can't believe this Flyers team is playing as well as it is. And a huge part of it is that guy, Carter Hart. Carter Hart has been a stud. And this team right now is 6-3-2. And the only teams with more wins on the year than them in the Metropolitan are the Islanders, Carolina Hurricanes, and those New Jersey Devils. Talk with Kevin Durso about these surprise Flyers. How did we get here? Why are we talking hockey on November 8th? Find out next here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2022 season Monday night against their NFC East rivals, the Commanders.
Quick pitch to Sanders, and he is in for the touchdown, and the Eagles regain the lead.
Pre-game coverage starts at 7 p.m. with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 8:15. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's official Eagles station.
Is chronic heartburn making you hear this in your sleep and after you wake up and after every meal? Well, every time you hear it, it should remind you to talk to Atlanticare, because we can find the underlying issue that's causing your heartburn and create a personalized plan to treat it so you don't have to keep doing this. Shake chronic heartburn for good. Visit atlanticare.org/heartburn.
For all your printing needs this holiday, Staples has you covered.
I need custom printed holiday cards for my one-of-a-kind business.
Staples has you covered.
It's beginning to look a lot like I need custom party invites. Fast.
I need cards for everyone who gave me a hand this year without spending an arm and a leg.
Staples has you covered with personalized holiday cards and invites. And now save 40% on custom holiday cards and invitations. For everything you need printed, go to Staples, the working and learning store. In-store and online, ends 12/17. Exclusions and restrictions apply.
And Doug.
Hey, listener. Welcome to Limu's Karaoke Lounge, where Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need, and the music never stops. Hit it.
There's an emu with a full-time job. His partner's Doug, but Limu's the heartthrob. Grubs and worms, that's what Limu eats. Gotta fuel up to save you money and hit the streets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Open wide. Let me see that smile.
There's a back-to-school braces boom at Doc Kelly's office.
Can you hold on for a sec? Can someone bring me more brackets?
She needs to realign her staffing plan with more registered dental assistants.
Can you reorder the rubber bands in red?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons. Sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing. I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Hey, Nissan, how do you get to the top?
Calculating. Proceed to 1959. Take a hard left in East Africa at the 71 Safari Rally. Veer right for 19 off-road championships in the Baja Desert. Proceed towards Moab. Take the trail to Hell's Revenge. Include steep incline. Continue for the next 1,000,000 miles.
Where to first again?
60 years, millions of miles, and the capability to take you anywhere. This is the new Nissan.
Why wait to save? Dell Technologies Black Friday event arrives early with select deals on top tech to power business productivity. The savings start now with up to 48% off performance business PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, including free shipping on everything. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL for Black Friday deals. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Football season is in full swing at Vandal Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Bet, watch, and win all season long. Plus, enjoy your favorite games from all over the world with 10 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, 13 big screen TVs, and plenty of comfortable seating. Just head over to Vandal Sportsbook at Bally's in Atlantic City to get in on all the action this season. Vandal wants every bettor's experience to be enjoyable and fun. Visit vandal.com/playwell to learn more. Must be 21 or to play and present in New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
As I said before the break, if you would have told me 2 months ago that on November 8th, I would be talking about the Phillies losing in the World Series and having Kevin Durso talk Flyers, I would have told you you were nuts. But we live in a world where the Phillies won 6 games with the Houston Astros with a team that struck out 71 times, a Flyers team that has 6 wins on the year, a Sixers team that looks like mashed potatoes half the year, and the Eagles haven't played on Sunday like one time, like a 4-week stretch. So guess what? Let's find out why on earth are the Flyers 6-3-2 with Kevin Durso here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin, good to see you. How's it going?
Good to see you as well, Josh. Guess there's no more time for hiding at this point. The Phillies are out of the World Series, so the winter sports kind of get back into the focus a little bit. So no hiding anymore because everybody's attention here, I think, is on the Phillies for the last 2 weeks as well. So I guess it's time to bring the focus back to these winter sports and see where it goes from here.
So give the folks out there who maybe, just haven't been paying attention well enough. Maybe they saw a Flyers game or two, right? Like, maybe you go out to your local favorite establishment, right? And the Flyers happen to be on the TV, like, oh, the Flyers are winning, kind of thing. So talk to the audience for who haven't paid attention. How are the Flyers here right now?
Yeah, it's pretty funny you say that because the last couple of weeks, I think every time the Phillies played, the Flyers had a game, it felt like. So I would kind of in my head joke, once the first hour of Flyers hockey is over, you're going to shift your attention to the baseball game anyway. So good chance that people weren't paying much attention. So I understand that. No, I mean, the big story is Carter Hart. That's the basis of everything that's going on so far. Is goaltending has been elite level. Carter Hart's got Vezina level numbers to start this season. It's just incredible what he's been able to do. It's unfortunate that he's not playing tonight. He was originally slated to go as the starting goalie tonight, and about 2 hours ago, we get word he's out with an illness tonight. So Felix Sandstrom is getting the start. Samuel Ersson is called up to back up for tonight. Luckily for the Flyers, it wasn't anything more significant than an illness. That's probably something that will make Hart available again later in the week, obviously, but you still don't seem like you want to lose him for any stretch of time right now because he's playing out of this world right now. And that's been the real basis of the success this season for them. They've got the 6-3-2 record, and that looks really good on paper, but most of the other numbers on paper don't look very good, and it's being bailed out by great goaltending. So that's really where things stand at this point.
We saw Tortorella calling out Ristolainen today. How much of Tortorella calling out a player in the media like that is him trying to light a fire under these guys? Because they are 6-3-2. It's not like they're an under 500 team, but as you said, it's been the goaltender doing most of the carrying here.
Yeah, and I don't think this is the first example of this so far. It just happens to be Rasmus Ristolainen at this given moment and it really goes back to the last 2 games because he sat out Saturday as a healthy scratch first. He's getting the opportunity to go back into the lineup tonight, but the overall sentiment from John Tortorella was he's got to be better. I need, the hitting is good, but I need to stop every once in a while. I need, instead of just finishing your check, I don't want the guy getting the puck past us and having an opportunity because Ristolainen goes out and just tries to lay a big hit. So that in this particular moment, it's Ristolainen. But over the course of the first few weeks of the season, it's been other guys. I mean, we've seen this, pretty early on. I wasn't able to be physically in Wells Fargo Center for the first couple of home games. My first home game was the game against San Jose a couple weeks back. And in the entire third period, Kevin Hayes and Travis Konechny were stapled to the bench the entire time. And that's 2 members of your top line, 2 guys who were putting up a really good amount of points in the first few games, not getting an opportunity to play at that moment just because that's how John Tortorella operates. If he sees something that he doesn't like, he's going to make that call and he'll sit down whomever. It doesn't really make a difference to him. And he's kind of done that with some of the younger guys too over the last little bit. They claimed Kiefer Bellows off of waivers. He sat out the last couple of games, including tonight's. He's done this with Morgan Frost. He's done this with Wade Allison a little bit. And it's mostly just kind of a tough love approach. He's demanding. We all know John Tortorella is a demanding coach. He has an approach where he's trying to do it for the greater good of the player and of the team. But sometimes that gets lost in translation when you see the inconsistencies or the amount of times maybe he's going to have to go over this. If we see Morgan Frost playing 5, 6, 7 minutes a night again, that's not a good sign for a guy that kind of went through that and maybe, finally had a game where he earned some praise from the coach and then goes back into that inconsistency. That's what you're trying to avoid. You hope that these moments rub off, and I think Ristolainen is just the list of that group. You hope that this rubs off on him the right way, and he has a much better game on all fronts as opposed to what's John Tortorella has seen to this point.
For the uninitiated, explain to people what you mean when you say Tortorella is a demanding coach.
he's got it. Like, he's got a mindset to me that he knows what he wants his players to do and really leaves it all on them. He can only explain so much. He can only provide that tough love so much. I mean, at some point in time, you can't get lost in the shuffle and still ice a team. Like, if he's got 10 players who are lost in the shuffle, they don't have enough guys to play in a game. So somebody's going out there. But we've seen him so far shorten the bench to 9 forwards or something like that, where he'll take 3 guys completely out of play for the rest of the night. And it might be, the whole third period left to go. It's just the way that he kind of approaches, one of the things that kind of comes in common here, and maybe this is a good tie into how are the Flyers 6-3-2, it is all goaltending, because there are some numbers I'm going to read off to you that are numbers that John Tortorella will take into account, like shot totals. They're giving up the third shot per game at 36. They're taking the third fewest at 26. That's a big disparity every single game. But there's numbers like, scoring chances and how teams kind of calculate these numbers differently than others. So we can kind of go off of these things, and it's all kind of for interpretation. But according to Natural Stat Trick, which is a website that some of the writers definitely like to use, 5th most scoring chances allowed, 4th most high danger scoring chances allowed, expected allowed per 60 minutes is 3.71 per game. And, so they should be allowing, based on the chances they give up, nearly 4 goals a game. Carter Hart's got a 1.97 goals against average, which tells you how much he's doing. Another great number on Carter Hart shows how much he's doing. His goals saved above expected is 15.9, nearly 2 goals per game. He's saving more than what should be stopped, basically. He's making extraordinary saves on opportunities that should lead to goals, in other words. So when you're looking at players like Ristolainen or looking at the forwards that get shortened on the bench, so much of that is not based on these numbers, not based on Corsi or anything like that and possession numbers. It's based on John Tortorella's gut and his eyes and going off of those two things. But a lot of times, I think so far, it doesn't really matter what you follow. If you're an analytics guy or you're an eye test guy, both things are showing me the same thing. So it doesn't really matter to me. I think that both things are showing exactly the same thing.
Our Flyers insider for 97.3 ESPN.com, Kevin Durso, joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Flyers Blues at the top of the hour here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. You mentioned earlier about how Carter Hart is a big part of this team. Well, the Flyers have 6 wins. Carter Hart has 6 wins. So, one of the conversations you had with me, you had with Mike Gill, and we've all had over the last few years is this team needed a goaltender, right? Carter Hart had that 1 year where it was really rough sledding. So what in your eyes, is it just eye test or is it numbers or whatever it is? What has been his evolution from that guy who was just struggling so much to now becoming this star goaltender again?
Well, I think he always had it in him because he's played on big stages and he's been able to do it before. I think the thing right now, and I hate to kind of go here with this, but it's early in the year, so I think that right now he's at a point where health-wise everything is good, and I think that the more that you play like this in front of him and require him to be as acrobatic as he can be and make a lot of saves and get a lot of work, he's more susceptible to injury. I mean, we've seen that he hasn't finished the last 2 years due to injury, so I think that that's something to keep an eye on if his work is great. One of the things I noticed about John Tortorella, maybe compared to other coaches in this league, is he's not afraid about back-to-back situations and starting the same goaltender. I just don't think he's had the luxury. I think every time he may have wanted to try to do that, he's looked at the game before and gone, Carter Hart had to face 35 shots, 40 shots, something like that. And it's like, you can't throw him back out there this early in the season and expect him to hold up when February and March roll around, especially if this is sustainable. That's the kind of the funny thing about this whole thing so far is the eye test looks really good from Carter Hart, obviously, because he's doing seems like everything right. I mean, maybe a couple games ago he had a bit of a rough go and had a couple goals allowed that he probably wants back. But for the most part, he's allowing goals that nobody was going to stop. But then you look at the process and you look at the numbers and the play in front of him and you go, this isn't sustainable. And yet every time he seems to be out there, they find a way to win a game. So, kind of the more that we say this, the more it becomes sustainable all along, I guess. But it would have been kind of nice to see that tonight after he played the way he did in Ottawa. It was a bounce-back effort on his part. Not that he had played poorly in either of his previous 2 starts, but they were his first 2 losses of the year. So he gets right back into the win column quickly after having 2 really good games that he could have won as easily as they were losses in overtime. And now, this would have been an opportunity probably to start off, by my estimation anyway, a week where we were going to see him 3 times. And now we're going to see that cut short at least by 1 start. I would imagine if his health is in good enough shape, if he's not feeling this illness in a couple days, he'll start in Columbus and get 1 or 2 games over the weekend. I could see Felix Sandstrom be getting the Ottawa game, and you save Carter Hart for Dallas on Sunday, which is the better matchup for him, just because Dallas has been off to such a great start that I think then the schedule really opens up where they have a day off, I think, between every single game for the next 2 weeks after that. So the lack of back-to-backs probably help him, and he'll get a lot of action. And we'll see just how long this is sustainable, because for many people, I talk about it as much as a lot of other writers do. Thanksgiving seems to be the benchmark for if you're kind of in that playoff picture when Thanksgiving hits, you may be a team that hangs around for the bulk of the year. And as much as our expectations were what they were coming into this season, they're hanging around that picture so far, and we're about 2 weeks out from that point. And so maybe these 2 weeks, especially with the teams they're playing, St. Louis is coming in on a 7-game losing streak. Columbus has lost 5 in a row. Ottawa has lost 5 in a row. And they play those 3 teams the next 3 games. So we'll see if that stands up and if they find a way to win a few more games because of the competition. You certainly can't overlook some of these guys. I mean, St. Louis looks like they're probably ready to break out at any point, anytime soon, because at some point in time when you lose 7 in a row, you find a way eventually yourself. And you can't ignore the talent that a team like Columbus has or a team like Ottawa has. They've got players. Seems like Ottawa got beat by a goaltender on Saturday, and we'll see if that would happen, kind of repeat itself. And in Columbus's case, same thing. We'll see if it turns out to be a goaltending thing or if the Flyers really are that much better than them. So we'll see how that progress goes. But I think that that's also the goal of Tortorella right now, is see progress in this area. Don't have to rely on the goaltender every second of every game and start finding a way to build on some things. I think they did that a little bit against Ottawa on Saturday, so we'll see if that carries over as well.
Let's get to the other story of the Flyers season, which is the injuries, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're talking about, Couturier is going to be out, 3 to 4 months. JVR is out until December. Atkinson is out, I don't know how long. You told me before the year that Ryan Ellis may never play a game in a Flyers uniform with the way his health situation is going. So talk to the audience about, the impact of these injuries on this team, and can this team sustain and survive without not 1, not 2, but arguably 3 of their most important forwards?
Yeah, and that's really the big question. That is it sustainable? And I think that's a big part of where some of the doubt with the sustainability comes from. It's not just on the goaltender who's putting up numbers that are near the top of the league, in every category. And whether that lasts for more than the first couple of weeks of the season. It's how long can you continue to play the same group of guys without guys that contribute a certain expectation. You know what to expect when Sean Couturier is healthy and plays at least 70 games in a season. You know what to expect from James Van Riemsdyk at this point. You know what to expect from Cam Atkinson, even though he's only had 1 season here. You have an expectation for what Cam Atkinson brings to a lineup, and all 3 of those guys right now have timelines that aren't favorable. Van Riemsdyk has the best timeline out of any of them because at least we know the diagnosis. It's, he had surgery on his finger. He'll be back sometime probably in the next month or so, right around, about a month from now, I would say, is about the time to start watching for that. But we know the situation with Couturier. He had to have another back surgery. That can be debilitating on his season. I mean, if they're lucky, 3 to 4 months, and he might be able to find a way to come back. But I think realistically, you have to take a long look in the mirror about where your team is at that very moment and whether it's worth him playing to begin with. And then number 2, is it going to be good for his long-term health at that point? Like, is he close to ready when that 4-month timetable wraps up? We'll have to wait and see on that. And Cam Atkinson is kind of becoming this year's Ryan Ellis to an extent where we don't have an idea of how long this is going to last. It's right now, week to week. And that's, very vague. And I know the fan base hates hearing that right now because it happened with Ryan Ellis last year, where how long is it going to carry on before you get a more definitive timeline that turns out to be half a year or the whole year or something like that. So, people can only take so much of, well, he's really frustrated. He wants to play, and it's just taking longer than we hope. People can only take so much of that without having a number to attach to it. I thought it was a good thing that the Flyers kind of put that number on Ellis this year to give people an expectation. He's probably not playing this year. And now we have a number on Sean Couturier. Good chance he may not play for, well, definitely the majority of the year, maybe not at all this year. So what happens with Cam Atkinson? I think that's a big question. And then how long can all these guys, a lot of young guys too, you're thinking about guys like Frost and Wade Allison, Noah Cates, how long can they continue to play, the way that they have been, maybe from a positioning standpoint and a defensive standpoint, which is pretty solid, all things considered. But how long can the team survive without guys like that scoring goals? It can't just keep being Travis Konechny, Joel Farabee, Kevin Hayes putting up the points. Somebody else is going to have to pitch in, and they really are going to lean on those, specifically maybe those three guys that I just mentioned, Cates, Frost, and Allison, to provide some production here, because it's going to take some time before they get the guys that they know what to expect production-wise back in the lineup.
Final thing before I let Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider for 97.3 ESPN.com, go, because at the Flyers game tonight versus the Blues, coverage begins at 7 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN. Something that we talked about during baseball season with the Phillies, something that you and I talked about last Flyers season in the aftermath of them letting people back into the building, is attendance. Okay, we saw the Phillies, they didn't have good attendance for most of the year, but in the postseason, the fans showed up, right? You know, people always show up for Eagles games, Sixers games, they mostly show up, right? Flyers right now are in the bottom of the league in average attendance. So, you know, is that going to be part of the story of this year, Kevin, that the attendance is not going to be great because the team's not going to be great, or can the Flyers play at a level to get people back in the building?
I think it's possible that they could play at a level that gets people back in the building. I mean, if you keep winning, people will show up. That's just the way it usually works. But I think right now, first of all, I think, you know, the Phillies, the Flyers, no favors for attendance for the last month because, you know, all the attention's off of them. I don't think people felt the need to even worry about that. And that's kind of why, like, I joked when we first got on and started talking tonight, you know, it's time to come out from under the radar at this point. You're, you know, you're no longer able to hide in the shadow of the Phillies anymore, you know, and the Eagles only play once a week. So there's not really any hiding from that either. You know, it's time to come out and see what this team is all about. And I think that now maybe people who haven't been paying attention for the last month are going to give it a look, give it a chance, and see how this team looks. But if it starts to take a dip at some point, and one of the things I keep talking about a lot in looking at this team's record, 6-3-2 sounds really good, but you know what this team's record was through 11 games last season? 6-3-2. And the year before, they had a very similar record as well. So,
wow.
You know, to me, I keep going back to, because I got a lot of comments from people who kind of had expectations going the other direction, right? Like people who are ready for this to be a year where the draft is more talked about than the play on the ice, let's just say. And I'm getting comments after early games in the season about like, well, you can throw away their chances at Connor Bedard or anything like that. And I'm sitting there in my head going, it's 3 games into the season, though. You got 79 more of these, and a lot can happen. The difference between the top of the standings in the NHL and the bottom of the standings right now is 8 points. That's 4 games. And if you get into one of these slides like the Flyers were on last year, upwards of 10 games, look at what happened to St. Louis. St. Louis is on a 7-game losing streak coming into tonight's game. They won their first 3 games of the season. Looked like a team that was going to be at the top of the standings for a chunk of the year based on those first 3 and fell off a cliff. It's always possible if you have these stretches where you can't find a way out of the snowball effect of losing games. If that starts to happen, then people are going to look at this and go, same old Flyers from last year, I'm out. But if they sustain this, then people will start to tune in. And I think a reason is Carter Hart, because it is the one thing people have longed for, a goaltender, somebody who can stay between the pipes, give them stability, and give them that elite level performance. And they are getting that for right now. Like I said, we won't get to see it tonight. Hopefully we see it again on Thursday. But from there, how does this thing go? Because the longer it goes, the more people will start to believe. It's very much like the Phillies playoff run. The longer the run goes, the more people buy in and believe and are getting excited about it. If you can get to Thanksgiving and you're still in the playoffs, if you can get to Christmas and you're in the playoff picture maybe, then people are going to have to start to admit you're a good team. You're finding a way, you're doing things, and it maybe is the coach's effect or it maybe is the goaltender's effect, but people are going to say you found a way to kind of get our attention again. But until they can do that for way longer than the first 11 games, and I'm going a little beyond that because through 14 last year, they were 8-4-2, and that was the next game was the start of their first 10-game losing streak of the season. So That's where it kind of fell off last year, and that's what I'm kind of looking to see this year. Does it last beyond the middle of November? That's when I'm going to maybe start to believe a little bit more. Right now, I'm kind of still a skeptic as well because too much of it is the goaltending. If I start to see some things change, I'll be the first to admit that you're seeing better play at the other end of the ice. It's not so much on the goaltender anymore, and maybe that'll be a reason to start believing in this team. But for now, it's too much on the goaltender. I don't believe it's sustainable, but we'll see if they can prove me wrong. So far, they have. I kind of, infamously, I went on a couple podcasts and proclaimed that they might win 4 of their first 20 games, and they're up to 6 in the first 11. So, I'll admit I was wrong there. They've proven me wrong to that point. Let's see how much more they prove me wrong as we get towards those major holidays in the schedule where we start to really know a lot about a team.
Follow him on Twitter at Kevin_Durso for all your Flyers and NHL coverage. Check out all of his work over at 973ESPN.com. He is live at the Flyers game tonight. Flyers Blues, no Carter Hart, but the Flyers are in the house against an underwhelming Blues team. So we'll see how that game goes tonight. Kevin, appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the game. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Josh. One quick thing, by the way. They're wearing the reverse retros for the first time tonight, so we got the Cooperalls on the ice for warm-ups right now. It's pretty darn cool, I got to admit. I'm going to post a picture on Twitter in a couple of seconds once I get off with you. So, but awesome look so far. It's been pretty cool to see.
All right, another thing to look forward to. See, now, you can listen to the game and you can watch it, whatever you want to do, but you got some little extra incentive. Kevin Durso just gave it to you for the reverse
there you go.
retro uniforms. Kevin, good stuff, man.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN. Mobile app being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons. When we needed to make the 97.3 ESPN studio comfortable, that is who we called, and you should too. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning services. Call 609-641-6262. Online at jenkinsandsons.com. We'll get back to you guys' messages on the other side. Data and EHT and more here on the text board, 609-403-0973. The DMs in the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See you out. And of course, don't forget, in about 15 minutes, your next chance to be a qualifier for 99 bottles. Keep it tuned here. The Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
Pins it in front. Look what they score!
It's Flyers Blues tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
At my age, I never dreamed I'd be dealing with opioid addiction.
I was pregnant and I couldn't stop. Getting sidelined by an injury was bad, but the cravings were way worse.
Then I heard about 844-REACH-NJ.
They connected me to treatment and I had a healthy baby. 844-REACH-NJ was the call that made the difference.
Thank goodness I made the call.
So glad I made the call for both of us.
REACH-NJ. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, call 844-REACH-NJ from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
When choosing a wireless provider, you're forced to compromise. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could get reliable service without a contract and save money? Introducing Total by Verizon, a new no-contract, no-credit check carrier for you and your family with plans starting at just $30 a month on America's most reliable 5G network. Total by Verizon is available at totalbyverizon.com and at retailers nationwide. Based on first place rankings and Root Metrics first half 2022 5G assessments of 125 metros. Experiences may vary, not an endorsement.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons. Sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying best product I've ever used and amazing. I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching a kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
We tried Dynavite for gut health and immune support, and after a couple of weeks, our little Gizmo was acting like a puppy again. His coat was shinier, he had a lot less scratching and shedding, and he seemed like his happy old self.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynavite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Get 10% off your next order of Dynavite nutritional supplements for dogs at Dynovite.com. Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite.
At the Home Depot, we have Black Friday savings all through November. And with that comes a joyful holiday bustle that we just love to hear. Although we also love the sound that comes after the holidays, when people put their new tools to use. In fact, we love it so much. When you buy select Milwaukee M18 kits, you'll get an extra tool for free. So after you're done filling the air with holiday magic, you can fill it with the sounds of doing. The Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer WetJet. With Swiffer WetJet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer WetJet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Why wait to save? Dell Technologies Black Friday event arrives early with select deals on top tech to power business productivity. The savings start now with up to 48% off performance business PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, including free shipping on everything. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL for Black Friday deals. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Finding the right Medicare plan? Oof, no easy feat. Kind of like those dances my granddaughter loves making me do. But then I found Walgreens FindRx coverage. Lets you compare plans online, over the phone, or in person. Made Medicare shopping so easy. Plus, I found plans with low-cost copays. I can get down with that. Medicare annual enrollment ends December 7th. Find a plan that's right for you at walgreens.com/Medicare.
Football season is in full swing at Vandal Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Bet, watch, and win all season long. Plus, enjoy your favorite games from all over the world with 10 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, 13 big screen TVs, and plenty of comfortable seating. Just head over to Vandal Sportsbook at Bally's in Atlantic City to get in on all the action this season. Vandal wants every bettor's experience to be enjoyable and fun. Visit vandal.com/playwell to learn more. Must be 21 or to play and present in New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Get you guys' thoughts and comments. Just a moment here. 609-403-0973 is text board. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And final opportunity for today for you to qualify for 99 bottles. We have 2 opportunities for you every hour. Every hour of the Sports Bash. And then during here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. So we'll be getting that in about 4 minutes from now. Your chance to qualify. Really quick, I'm watching the Sixers game last night, and you know, this team has looked discombobulated and completely lost at times on the floor. And I know a lot of people were frustrated with Doc Rivers. I think last night was a perfect example of why this Sixers team needs time. And it's not Doc's fault, because This team basically showed you last night that when they want to play, when they want to win, when they're motivated, when their mind is in the right place, they can win basketball games. And Joel Embiid, for the first time this year, looked interested and motivated to be on the court. Tyrese Maxey had a very good all-around game, and Tobias Harris really asserted himself. I thought overall it was just a really good basketball game and a good win by the Sixers. Hopefully they can parlay that moving forward. Of course, you can hear more Sixers action here on 97.3 ESPN Thursday night when the Sixers take on the Hawks. Then you hear the Flyers and the Blue Jackets on Thursday on our sister station, Rock 104.1. Over on the text board, Dan EHT says at 609-403-0973. Hard to believe the Phillies wouldn't have made the playoffs again with the old format. Thompson wouldn't be back this year, and a lot more Dombrowski moves would happen if that was the case. Dombrowski will now not overreact and just tweak instead of blowing it up. Well, listen, Dan, I understand it might be hard to believe, but the reality is that the old playoff format only allowed 4 teams in. So it's not a, whether you believe it or not, it's just a literal reality. Okay. It's a numbers game. Only so many teams can make the postseason. There was a time it only used to be 2 teams in each league. Then they made it 4 teams. And now we got 6 teams. So, it's just a numbers game. It's not an insult to the Phillies. It's just a reminder of where you're at, where you're going, and how you got to do it. But I do agree with you that I don't think Dombrowski is going to overreact. But I don't think he was going to blow it up either. Anybody who thinks he was going to blow it up is either nuts or they're disconnected with reality. There's something to be said for the fact of we live in a world where people overreact to things, okay? And, just because somebody on one show or one podcast or one interview makes a comment doesn't make it gospel, doesn't make it a universal positive, doesn't make it an element that is, life or death for a football or baseball or basketball or hockey team. So, look, I think that, Kevin Durso made a great point when we were talking about the Flyers. Now is the season where things change over. We are changing over from people focusing just on the Phillies and Eagles to now the Eagles play once a week, and the rest of the week there's Sixers and Flyers games. And the Flyers at this point, as Kevin mentioned, they're playing 3 times this week, 3 times next week, 2 times before Thanksgiving, and 3 or 4 more times after Thanksgiving. So the Flyers are going to get a lot of leg room moving forward to put up or shut up. And so are the Sixers, because at the end of the day, the people who are calling, does Doc Rivers need to be fired? They're in a position where I think that they need to be shown as well that the Sixers are legit. GameNight be brought to you by friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's in Atlantic City. Bet, watch, and win with football, basketball, and, of course, hockey. Just over to FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's on the boardwalk in Atlantic City to get on all the action this season. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 609-573-3776. Call right now to be caller number 6 and 7, and you have a chance to be qualified for 99 bottles. 609-573-3776. Caller 6 and 7. You are in for 99 bottles. Your final opportunity to qualify today for the Sports Bash. Mike Gill tomorrow. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Flyers hockey next.
Listen to Sixers basketball Thursday night on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Here's Maxey with a step-back 3 on Grimes and gone again. Maxey filling it up.
The Sixers host the Atlanta Hawks Thursday night. Coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.